Hi everybody, it's Marcy with Chunky Knitted Creations again, and we are going to do another Valentine's edition. Today I am going to teach you a few different ways, 3 different ways actually, on how to add hearts to your blanket. I see a lot of requests for this, and it doesn't actually have to be for Valentine's Day, because a lot of us like to just show our love on our blankets and maybe put a little heart in the corner, or just make heart themed blankets all year round. But I'm gonna call this a Valentine's one because I used what I think are some classic new Valentine's colors that I have seen going around a lot lately. This is some new colors from my Amazon store. We have Burgundy Bliss, Ivory, which I've had for a while, but I now offer in a 4-pack, and my almond color. I was going to name it Toasted Almond. I kind of wish I would have, but it's just a nice beige, like tan color, and then burgundy, of course, is burgundy, and ivory. Okay, so let's dive right in. So let's say you got done with your blanket and it looks a little plain, and you're like, man, I wish I would have put a heart on that one. And now it's too late, and I already did the whole thing. Guess what? It's not too late. Let's do 2 ways to add one afterwards, and they're both, I guess, what you would call surface crochet. So this is how to just add like a single stitch looking heart. You're going to cut a piece of yarn, let's just say about 10 inches just to be safe, because we always want more so we don't run out. Find a hole where you want it to go, and then pick the 2 holes above it where you want the top part of your heart to be. And you're going to put your yarn through the front. This one sheds a tiny bit because it's so soft. Poke it through and just leave a little bit hanging out the back, about like that, so that you can tie it off or burn it together. Okay, so you're going to put it through here, and then you're going to come up 1 stitch and over, or 1 hole. Go up 1 hole and then over, and then back through here. You're going to go again up 1 hole and over. So you start out here, and then you're going to go here and then here. All right, I'll show you. So we're going to put it through there, bring it through the back. Okay. All right, so we started there, and then you're going to come back through here. If you come through here, it's not going to look like a heart. So you're going to come back through 1 hole over. All right, see on the back. And then find your spot right here and bring it through. Okay, make sure it's tight in the back. Okay, it's not going to look the same on the back as it does in the front. And then you're going to take your yarn and push it back through there. There you go. And then just straighten it out a little bit, and it looks just as good as if you did it when you were knitting your blanket. And then on the back, this is what it looks like. You're going to have these 2 pieces here. You can just tie it in a big knot. You can feed it through here, which is what I like to do, and then tie it in a knot, or burn the 2 pieces together. Okay, I'm not going to leave this in this spot on my blanket, so I'm going to undo it. All right, so I was going to run through that again for you, but I forgot that we have rewind. So let's take that out. Now, let's say you wanted a much bigger heart, and you want it to cover a big portion of your blanket, and you don't know how to do graph blankets, or you don't have a graph, and you just don't feel like doing it. I suggest getting a thinner yarn. Yes, this is not my yarn, but I do use Bernat because they are one of my favorite brands that I always used before I started my own yarn company. And when I first started out, I bought the thick instead of the extra thick, and I did make a blanket with this. This works better for what we're going to do. That's called surface crocheting, and it's if you want to make letters or shapes or anything on your blanket. There are 2 tutorials in my Chunky Yarn Blanketeers group that show you how to do letters and other things too, but I thought I would just kind of go through it on here. You can do this with your chunky yarn too if you want. It just might come out a little too bulky, and I like the thinner yarn for this just because you're going to be going through a lot of different holes and making loops. Loop yarn works even better, so if you can get your hands on some loop yarn of the color that you want. I did not map this out. Normally, I would draw like a heart on a piece of paper, the size that I want, and cut it out and stick it to my blanket and like paper clip it or something, or use a safety pin so that I can, you know, just kind of have the shape to follow. But I'm going to wing this and see if I can do it. So you're going to push a loop through this time. All right. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. Just like I'm knitting, I'm going to pull through a loop. Okay. And then in the back, you'll leave a string or a strand about, you know, yay long so that you can tie it off or burn it or whatever you want. All right, so you pull through a loop, and I want to make my heart go up and over and around like the shape of a heart. So then I want to come through here after that. I'm going to reach through here, grab my working yarn, pull through another loop. All right, so I've got one here and one here. I'm going to feed this one through my first one. Okay, and then pull it back out and then straighten it. So you could even find like a yarn a little thicker than this in between these two if you want. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep going in this direction. Reach my finger through the hole that I want. Grab my working yarn. Pull it out. Pull out another loop. Okay, and take this loop and put it through this loop. And pull it through. Okay, see why I say loop yarn would work a lot better. Okay, and this is so nice because if you mess it up or you don't like the shape, it's so easy to take it right back out and just, you know, start over again. Sorry, I gotta get my yarn untwisted here. Excuse my dirty shirt. I was painting today and I was getting ready to go to bed. I wanted to finish this blanket and I said to myself, you really should do a tutorial first. So I have my painting shirt on. All right, so I pulled that one through. There's a loop sticking up, kind of like adding a border to a blanket. Now I'm gonna kind of round it off. You can go in any direction you want with this, which is nice. You can make so many different shapes. You can go sideways. All right, and then I'm thinking, I'll go over one more. You can make your loops bigger and come across two holes if you want. Just pull it through until you get the shape that you want. Back it out if you don't like it. Okay, and then see, I'm gonna come down now like that. So now I know I want to grab this hole. You might need to make some loops bigger than the others to reach over to this one, your previous one. Once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty quick and it's actually fun. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to pull one more through here and then start going back up and around. Hearts are pretty easy. You can also fill this in too and make it a solid heart by just going back around inside it. Pull out. All right. Keep loosening that up. Now I want to go back up a little. See, I just kind of pulled that down to give it better shape. Find my next hole. Pull a loop through. So, and then pull that through. And then you just keep going. And come back around. Tie it together at the end. You can make these all over your blanket. I can see that I've got 1, 2 lines right here, so I want 2 lines here, so I'm going to come here so that I can make it even. And if it doesn't look right, then I will just yank it right back up. Oh, sorry, I was having a hard time getting hold of the yarn there. Pull it through, one loop through the other, and I'll come back this way. We're just doing little chain links all the way around. Fluff them up, tighten them. Put your finger through the next hole that you're going to go through. Find your working yarn. Pull your next loop out. This is a little better, I think, actually, now that I think about it, than loop yarn. If you're wanting to do some awkward shapes and you might need to reach farther because, you know, loop yarn is pre-looped and they're all the same size, and sometimes I need to pull out longer pieces. All right, and I'm gonna put the next one there. So I just put my finger through where I want my next loop to come out, and I pull it through the back, or push it through the back of the blanket, and then pull it out, or pull it right back in through my hole there. Alright. See, this yarn is a little on the thin side, so you got to make sure that you get it tight and you move it around as you're doing it so that you don't have those open little spots there. Just gonna pull up. Alright, next hole should be here. Pull up my loop, push it through my last one, and pull it out. And then we're looking like a heart. And now I'm done, so I'm going to pull one more through, but I'm going to cut my yarn. Always give yourself extra. Right. I'm going to pull my yarn through that last hole there. I'll show you when it gets through the front. Alright, so this was my last loop that I pulled. And I'm going to pull the working yarn, the end of it, through here. And put it through that loop. So pull it down and then put it right back through the same hole. And pull it out the back. And then just kind of straighten it out a little bit. Push it over. Make it the way you like it. Okay, but on the back, it looks a mess, kind of. And again, just tie these together, burn them, you know, lace them through. Just be careful that you don't poke it through the other side of the blanket. Okay, and again, this is not what I want for my blanket, because this is white and I have ivory. I know it's kind of hard to tell the difference probably on here, but I just wanted to show you how to do it. Now I'm going to show you probably the most famous way, and that is how we just make them, we burn them into the blanket, just changing colors. And I will write out the pattern for this blanket, like how many I cast on and how many I did of each color, because as you've seen in the picture that is the thumbnail for this video, the blanket turned out really nice, and I mean, I really liked it, and I think people will want the pattern, so I will type out how many rows I did of each color and how many I cast on. Alright, so I just kind of undid all my loops, and I'm just going to poke them back through gently so that I don't ruin my blanket. It'll probably give me some yarn fuzzies, but I will just roll my lint roller over it. See how easy that was to take apart? That thin yarn. And it didn't even mess up my blanket. It just left some fuzzies. Okay? Alright, so for my hearts, I decided that I wanted in the middle of my blanket. I'm about halfway done. So I cast on 20, and I did 8 rows of my burgundy here. This is my cast on. And then I did 2 rows of ivory, 5 rows of almond, 2 rows of ivory, and then I'm going to do, what did I write down? 19 rows in the middle of solid burgundy. So on my uneven row, which would be number 10, so it'll be centered, is where I'm going to put my hearts. I'm just going to put I'm going to alternate almond and ivory hearts, because burgundy wouldn't show up. And then I always mirror my patterns, so then I will put 9 more rows of burgundy after that, and then I will start just like this, and I will go ivory, almond, ivory, and then end up with 8 of the burgundy. Again, I will write that out for you. And just so you know, I cast on 20, and my blanket is measuring, I believe, 35. Let me see. 33, actually. So people are always asking, how many do I cast on to get this, and how many do I cast on to get that width? It can be different for everybody. For me, the way I knit, I usually multiply my cast on number by 1.5 or between 1.5 and 1.7. to figure out what the width is going to be. So if I want my blanket to be 35 inches, I tell myself, okay, what's 20 times 1.5 or 1.7, and just try to do the math so I know how many to cast on. Or after you've been doing it for a long time, I just make my cast on row until it hits 40 inches, and I know that it'll probably grow 2 inches or 3 inches after that if I do it right. So always make your cast on row stitches big. You want them at least 3 finger widths. See, I can barely fit 2 through here. You want it to where you can fit 3 fingers through the openings because they tighten up. Okay, enough of all that. I have 20 stitches, so I'm going to do every 4th stitch is going to be a heart. And I'm going to have to fold this over to get the whole thing in for you. And I'm going to start with ivory. So first I need my burgundy, and I drop my end stitch, which means I'm not going to knit this one twice because I want the braided border on the side. So I skip my end stitch once. I knit it when I'm going this way, but I don't knit it again when I'm coming back that way. Same thing over here. When I get to this end, I knit it on the end once. Just never knit it twice in a row if you want this braided border. All right, but I do count it as a stitch. So this is stitch number 1, stitch number 2, stitch number 3, stitch number 4. Oops, number 4 is where I want my heart. So I'm going to back that up, and I'm going to cut my yarn. I don't want any of my new color, which is going to be ivory, to show in between here. So I cut my burgundy yarn a little longer than normal. As you can see here, it's about probably a 1/2 inch because I want only burgundy to show through here. So I try really hard to do that. And now we're going to burn on ivory just for 1 stitch. All right, let me fluff it up. When I burn, I like to trim off any fuzzies. My white yarn and my ivory are so incredibly soft and fluffy this time. The batch came out even better. So I kind of just trim away some of it so that I can get a good burn. And I just trim like a circle around that hard plastic core in there. And then I pull off some of the fluff and bear it back. Alright. It can be hard to burn yarn that's super soft like the phasing yarn. I had a really hard time with it. So I'm one person that will only light one end of my yarn. Most people light 2, but for me it works. You'll probably get a better burn if you're not that good at it and haven't been doing it for a long time. You probably gotta want to light both. And I hate it when that little end comes up. So I let it burn quite a while, as you see. I got a nice flame going there so that middle piece really catches. Normally I wear my fingertip protectors too when I'm going to be doing a lot of burning. So I push it together, squeeze sideways, turn it this way, squeeze it that way, squeeze it in all different directions. And if I don't feel like I got a good enough attachment, I will cut it apart and make sure. And if you get it while it's still warm, you won't get that sharp piece. Always. Alright, so it won't squish anymore. Let me pull my stitch back through. Give it a good tug. Alright, so as you can see, you can still see some burgundy right there. Okay, that's gonna, so that my white won't show through. And then I'll adjust it after I pull my stitch in. See, right between it, now you don't see any white. Alright, now we only need 1 stitch. That's all you do. Change colors for 1 stitch and you will have a heart in your blanket. And again here, I'm going to cut this shorter because I don't want any white to show in between my stitches because I'm picky. Alright, a lot of us are. So I'm going to, I like to light whatever yarn that I feel is a little stiffer. And lighter colors are a lot softer because they don't get as much dye on them. And I think we've all kind of noticed that when you have black yarn, it Sorry, I shouldn't be talking when I'm trying to burn. Black yarn just never feels as soft as ivory or Snow White or anything like that. Owie. Yes, you get burnt a lot doing this, especially when you're doing a graph blanket. Woohoo! Alright, I just want to make sure this stays together. If you don't like to burn, I mean, I'm totally against tying because I've had too many blankets fall apart. Or if you're not sure that your burn is going to stay, you can always go back through and use some craft glue. Or fabric glue, I'm sorry, not craft glue. See, I don't feel like that one is a good, I mean, it probably would have stayed, but I'm going to be selling this blanket, and I don't want to sell that to somebody, especially the person that I'm selling it to. I know she has a little terrier, and he likes to mess with her blankets. So I didn't like that, and it was probably because I forgot to trim this, as you've seen, before I started burning. I didn't trim back, so I didn't get close enough to the core. There we go. Let's just try that one more time. And I'm going to actually light this piece this time because I can see the core really good. I don't know if you can see that. Try to pull it up. But this little pointy piece sticking up there, that's the core. I was able to bear it pretty good. And then make sure this one is alright. When you're not on camera and you've done this for a long time and you're doing a graph blanket, you whip through it. You get so used to burning. See that? How it caught on fire like a candle? Rub it together. Start squeezing as soon as you can. Yeah, I really test mine to where I pull as hard as I can almost. There. See, I felt the plastic core bend over top of each other. I know that one's a lot better. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to take so long, but I just wanted to show you also what to do if your burn part came apart. Alright, so let's see. I don't see any more ivory. I'm going to go back to burgundy. And do, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to do 5, 6, 7, and number 8 here is going to be my next heart. And that one is going to be a different color. I'm going to use the almond. So basically I'm knitting 3. You can put your hearts wherever you want. You just make them random all over the blanket, and it turns out pretty good too. Cut a little bit longer than I would on the other color. And here is my fluffy almond. And find that. Yeah. Soft yarn is going to be a little shaggy, so don't think that that means it's bad. It just kind of happens with the super soft kind. Sorry, I'm just, again, flattening that and burying the core. That one I can see pretty good. The white and the ivory are a little softer, so they're harder to get a good burn sometimes. You gotta really pay attention. Let's see if Marcy can light her finger on fire. No, we don't want to do that. I need to be able to knit. Alright. The sooner you can start squeezing and massaging this, the better. That's why the fingertip protectors are great. I'll try to remember to put the link to the ones that I got. They sell them at all the craft stores. The ones that I like are made by Mod Podge, and they're bright pink. And I use them when I'm using hot glue, especially, and when I'm burning. Alright, so now we're going to do 1 stitch. Alright, see, some of my burgundy came through, so I'm going to pull it back out a little. Pull it this way, and then tighten that stitch. You have to make sure that you're knitting tight when you're doing these hearts, because if you don't, they're going to separate. And I'll show you a little tip also after I get them knitted to keep them from separating. All right, switch back to burgundy. I feel like I'm doing a graph blanket. Find my end piece. Push the fluff back. I usually keep a little cup or something here for trimming all my fuzzies so my blanket doesn't get covered in them like this. So don't be intimidated by hearts, because all they are is changing colors, just like you would when you're doing a multicolored blanket, but you just only do one stitch. Push it together, start massaging. Try not to inhale this stuff too much. If you're doing a graph blanket with multiple, you know, where you're just constantly changing colors every 2 stitches, I highly suggest opening a window and wearing a mask, because I've had some pretty burnt sinuses from burning these. This, you know, is dye, of course, so we don't want to inhale dye chemicals all the time. All right. I don't want them out a little bigger than I wanted, but I think it'll be okay. Alright, so knit 1, 2, 3 more. Always make sure that you don't have a big gap in between your stitches when you're knitting, or it will be loose. And make this a little longer. Now we're going to do another ivory heart. Okay, get my fuzzies out of the way. So as you see, the surface crocheting hearts and that very first one that I showed you are actually easier, because you don't have to keep cutting and burning and cutting and burning like this. Alright, see, on the darker colors, it's really easy to see the core. It's like a little white piece in there. It's like a plastic, almost like fishing line that they use. Let it burn for a minute and get bubbly. And by holding my second piece over top of it while it's burning, it kind of lights this one a little bit and melts that core of this side too. I probably didn't give this one the pull test, but I just could tell when I was feeling it here, pushing it together, that I had a good connection. I try to avoid the sharp pieces, but guys, you just always can't. I mean, sometimes it's going to be there. If you want to keep cutting and burning and cutting and burning it over and over again, if it really bothers you, and then eventually, you know, you'll get a good round, like softer ball of plastic in there. You can, but nobody really ever notices that, you know, there's a little piece of plastic, you know, that hard piece from burning it. We notice it because we know it's there. But if you're selling or gifting your blankets, the person receiving it, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to know that that's there. Okay. Cut this one kind of close because I don't want it to show through in between. Back to burgundy. Where's my end? Where's the end? Yay! This is only a partial skein here. Oh goodness, where did I put the end? I don't want that end. Give me a moment here. I threw it way across the table. Alrighty. It's been a long day. A long winter. I'm ready for spring. Ready to start making peeps, bunnies, and ducks, and flower stuff. Trim that really good. This one's already pretty good. I can feel the little core right there. Burn this. My lighter is almost dead. Let's hope it makes it through. Oh, come on. I have used this for probably 30 blankets. Alright, light it really good. See, it's better to light the darker color yarn, because if you've ever done like a solid white or solid ivory blanket and you burn the two pieces together, sometimes you can see that burn mark. So if you have, you know, a darker color that you're burning together, try your best to light the darker color first. See, this had a sharp piece, but I was able to squeeze it. Just have to squeeze really hard. And that, yeah, that gave me a really good connection too by doing that. Alright, these are coming out a little bigger than I wanted, but they're still gonna look good. Okay, we're gonna do knit 3. And then I'm not doing a lot of hearts on this one. I'm just doing a row across the middle. That way, in case the person doesn't want to use it only for Valentine's Day, it won't look so much like a Valentine's blanket. Alright, flatten out my stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I've got 3 in between here, 3 in between here, 3 in between here, and this is going to be my other one. Let's go back to Almond. And then when you knit your next row, it's going to be a solid color. And you'll actually be able to tell that it looks like a heart after you knit your solid color over top of it. If you're doing hearts on the next row, then just make sure whatever you do, you don't put a heart on top of a heart, because it won't look like a heart. There, that one gave me a really good connection. I could feel it. No sharp piece at all. Squeeze. That is the key, is squeezing that as hard as you can together. I believe it. I believe it in my heart that is key to keeping them from coming apart. Alright, we're going to knit one more little heart. Burgundy all over me. Cut and burn one more time. Alright. Back to burgundy. I love this Burgundy Bliss. I swear, every time I get a new color made, it just gets softer and softer. I really didn't expect this dark of a color to be this soft, but it's just as soft as my ivory. I'm so picky, I pick apart every little fuzzy on my yarn, so excuse me. I look like a maniac here. And then I go over it again with a lint roller or two. As I've mentioned, I have a big fluffy Persian cat, and her hair is just everywhere, floating around here like tumbleweeds. Owie. So take your time squeezing and massaging this as much as you can. Even if it feels hard, it still moves a little bit. Alrighty. Pull that through. Done with our 4 hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm just going to knit a row of burgundy over top of it to show you, and then we're all done. And do as many as you want. One of the ladies in my group posted a blanket that was just a solid color with about 50 hearts all the way throughout the blanket, and it was just so pretty. Everybody loved it. I think she did pink and burgundy, like a pink background and burgundy hearts, and it was so pretty. See, I knitted the end stitch once for going this way, and then I'm going to skip it going back that way. We get a lot of questions in the groups about that too. It's confusing. It's hard to explain in writing, but to visually show it to somebody, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, just don't knit it twice. Okay, anyways, I'm sorry. So see, I knitted over that one, and it looks like a heart. And that is because the knit stitch is shaped like a V, so it almost ends up looking like a heart from a distance. It's not a complete heart, but everybody thinks that they're hearts when they see them. So we just kind of all went with it and said, it's not a V, it's a heart. See? And the more rows you get on top of it, the better it's going to look. So if you knit kind of loose and your hearts start to separate like that, or you wash it and it does, or something happens, you just notice because chunky yarn stretches that after a while they're starting to separate and they don't look like hearts anymore, just take a piece of fabric glue and put it, or a piece, a dab of fabric glue and put it in between here and here. So right on the V, and put it on your, like on my almond on both sides, and then hold it together or clip it together with one of my hair clips, like I use my fancy hair clips, and leave it until it dries. You can use hot glue, but hot glue is hard, so it's gonna feel like a stiff piece and you don't want that. And that'll hold it together. So just get you some stitch markers, or you know, little hair clips, or paper clip, or clothesline clips would work really good. It's been a long day and I can't seem to remember my words today. I got a birthday coming up and it's a big one. It's making me feel old. Alright, I'm just going to knit through this row to show you again what it looks like when it's complete. And then I'll post a picture of the completed blanket, and again you'll see it in the YouTube thumbnail picture has this blanket when it's done. And I'll do my best to remember to type out the pattern for you. If I forget, call me out on it. Get in the comments and say, Mars, you forgot, and we need to know how you made that blanket. It's a small lap size blanket. It's going to end up being like, what was it, 33 I said in the beginning, and then I'm figuring, let me grab my scrap paper here, about 50, so it's going to be like, you know, 30 by 50 approximately. Just a small lap blanket. You can make it any size you want though. You can double the amount of everything that I did and make it a huge blanket. Alrighty, there you go. The more I add to it, the more the hearts are going to stand out. I'm going to put 8 more rows of burgundy over the top of that, and it's going to look like 4 hearts in the middle. And then you have your surface crochet hearts that I showed you in 2 different ways. So you're all set. You can make as many hearts as you want. And I just posted a heart tutorial, a very easy one that shows you how to do a heart pillow or a heart plushie. And there was even a heart pouch in that one. So make yourself one of those. I made a burgundy one that I'm going to put with this. And you can even surface crochet the I love you or something over the top of the pillow or plushie that you make to go with it, and give it away as a beautiful Valentine's gift, or decorate your couch or house with it. Okay, I'm done. Just wanted to get that for you real quick. And like, subscribe, comment. I need lots of followers. Come to the Facebook groups. Lots of great stuff going on there. Go to my Amazon yarn store. The brand is Marcy and Maya, MarcyNMya. That's me and my daughter. We started this business together, and we are going to keep it going forever. We're one of the small businesses on Amazon. We have the small business badge, and you can go there and get our yarn. The link will always be in the comment section or in the description of the video. I'll always have sales going on. There's a 10% off coupon going on all my colors right now, and I think I'm up to 32 colors. So okay, let me know what you guys want me to do a tutorial on next. I love requests, and if I get enough of them for one thing, then I will make a tutorial. So happy knitting and have a great day.